He would have talked about it, without question.
So Tyre Nichols is beat by 5 officers to death in Memphis, Tennessee. 5 black officers. Universal condemnation. You and I agree. I mean, this is horrendous, these officers. I like what one of my colleagues, Dan Bongino, said. I don't think this is a training issue. This is a personnel issue. Sometimes there's bad people in this world who do bad things, and they need to be held to account and justice. The question is, as we do in these instances, is there a larger conversation about policing and race?
What a question. I think that without question, there's a larger conversation because, see, this is what everybody needs to understand. You got 5 black police officers who did this to a young black man. That's not about black or white, it's about blue. And when you have rogue officers, because clearly they are rogue, and Dan Bongino was right and accurate in pointing that out, the point is that you're a part of the problem when you stand and do nothing, and you're in a position to do something. If you are a police officer, you're in a position to do something. Those 5 police officers, none of y'all knew to do the right thing. What about the officers who came afterwards? Because there was about 3 or 4 additional police officers who showed up. None of y'all were in a position to do anything. This is the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. You're talking about a 150-pound kid that was restrained by 5 police officers. 2 officers held him down while another officer came and kicked him in the face twice. Then after that, they picked him up, held him up while another officer came and then punched him in the face twice. Then another officer came while he was still being held, clearly out of it, and you hit him with batons or nightsticks. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. And then think about it. It was caught by a surveillance camera across the street. The body cams didn't reveal all of that because they literally had covered up the body cams and was yelling and screaming as if they were trying to restrain him when the overhead satellite cam showed they already had him restrained and detained, and you still did what you did. And so when you see something like that, as heinous as it is, as far as I'm concerned, they should never be let out of prison. They should get a life sentence, as far as I'm concerned, all 5 of them. That's number 1. Number 2, when we talk about things systemically, we've had situations in the past. You have Freddie Gray's situation. There were black officers as well. But there was also obviously been many cases where it involved white officers, where it involved people being shot in the back. We're so protective of making sure that all law enforcement officials are not castigated that sometimes we don't pay enough attention to what's transpiring systemically and how that needs to be addressed and how we need those good officers' help in order to pull it off. And so what I'm saying is that has to be a priority to call on the police officers, to look them dead in the face and say, you know you're better. You know you're better than those sorry, no good officers that did what they did. Yeah. You know you would never do something like that. So rather than just Dan Bongino, who used to be associated with Secret Service, obviously, and who does a great job for you guys because I like him, you know, rather than him calling out and being protective of law enforcement, why don't you in law enforcement be protective of law enforcement by saying, that's them, that ain't us, and joining the people to make sure you bring the hammer down on all those who transgress?